So where exactly is Grand Junction, Colorado? Well, in this video, we thought we'd have a little bit of fun. We're going to break out the computer and just go all around the entire state of Colorado, where to go vacation, where to go for weekend trips, the ski resorts, all that fun stuff. And we're going to do it right after this, so stay tuned. What is going on, everybody? This is Robert Hayes, and along with my wife, Christie, we are the Hayes Home Group right here in Grand Junction, Colorado. And if this is your very first time to this channel and you want to know everything about working, living, playing, eating, sleeping here in Grand Junction, do yourself a favor and do us a favor. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, click that bell, that way you're notified every single time we post a new video. And if you're even thinking about moving here to Grand Junction, we are helping so many people, getting calls, text, emails on a daily basis from folks that are looking to move here from all over the country, and we absolutely love it. So if that's you, make sure that you reach out, give us a phone call, shoot us a text, send us an email, even send that carrier pigeon. Whatever you need to do, we've got your back when moving to Grand Junction. Okay, so you probably know where Colorado is located, how it's situated in the United States, but if not, we're going to show you that too. Again, we thought it'd be fun just to go through. We'll start in Grand Junction, we'll head up north, we'll go down south, we'll go to the east of the state, and again, just give you a general feel of where to go for, like I said, a weekend trip, where to go on family vacations, where to go skiing. You can do that certainly in Colorado. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into it. Okay, let's get this party started. So here's a map of the United States. If it's been just a minute since you've seen one of these, here's the green shade area, as you can tell, from the East Coast, going really into Nebraska and Kansas for the most part. And then you notice that things start to get a little brown, a little more tan color. That's going to be all high desert, which Grand Junction is certainly in the high desert. But notice the preponderance of green shade in the state of Colorado. There's obviously a reason for that. There's, a bunch of national forests where all the ski resorts are. Obviously, you're going to be in the higher elevation. There is good old Grand Junction right there on the western slope of Colorado, just really about 20 miles east of the Utah border. Here's the Continental Divide. So all the 14ers, there's over 50 of them, 14,000 foot peaks in Colorado. So all the experienced climbers love to come to Colorado and see how many of those suckers they can scale up 14,000 feet. Actually, there might even be closer to 70, but I think there's over 50 that actually have a name to the peaks over 14,000 feet. And then anything east of that is going to be called the Front Range. So Denver, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, it's going to be called the Front Range. That's the I-25 corridor that goes north-south through Colorado, and that's Interstate 70 that goes east-west. So a lot of even folks from the Front Range we're hearing from that are saying, look, we're tired of, 6 million people and home prices being over double what they are in Grand Junction. I think the median home price on the Front Range, at least in Denver, just exceeded $600,000 versus, 290,000 median home price in Grand Junction, population of 100,000. A little over 100,000 in the county, about 150 in Mesa County. But let's zoom in just a little bit and let's explore Grand Junction, and let's go one more. So there's Grand Junction. Again, there's the Utah border there. A couple of things to point out. Look how close we are from Grand Junction to Moab, Utah. There's Grand Junction. There's Moab, Utah. And I'm sure you've heard of Moab, Utah. I'll zoom in even a little bit further. It's only about an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and maybe an hour and a half tops, depending on how fast you go. There's Interstate 70 there to Arches National Park. I'm sure you've seen photos on Arches National Park. Just absolutely stunning landscapes in Arches National Park. So again, that's only about an hour 15, an hour 20 from Grand Junction, Colorado. Another point of interest, being so close to the Utah border, is go down Highway 24 just past Green River and go through a little small town called Hanksville, and you are in Lake Powell. About a 3.5 hour trip from Grand Junction is all. Just absolutely stunning. Christie and I love doing that at least 3-4 times a summer. Just incredible landscapes out there in Lake Powell, and you can see all the little kind of fingers. Let me go in even a little bit further. That's where we like to stay in Bullfrog. Just all these little canyons and little fingers you can take your boat into. Just anchor, no one's around, just absolutely phenomenal time there in Lake Powell. Let's go ahead and zoom out again. So we were there in Grand Junction. Let's find that again. There we are. There's Fruita and Palisade. We've talked about that in our videos if you've been watching those. And let's go zoom in. There's Salt Lake. Let's go talk about that just for a second. Salt Lake City. Stop doing that. Salt Lake City and Grand Junction are about 5 hours from Grand Junction. We've done that trip up the 191 through Highway 6, drop down into Provo, Orem, and then you're in Salt Lake City. So again, not a bad drive. For local boating, let me go ahead and point out where that's at. We actually did a video on that as well. It's only about 15-20 minutes from Grand Junction, and it's a lake called Highline Lake. If I can get that to pop up, I'll show you pictures of that. There's Highline Lake State Park, and that's the local boating, again about 15-20 minutes away. It's only about a mile long, but it's really all you need for doing your jet skiing and boating. If you want to just hang out and camp and lay out on the beach, you can do that too. But that's the local spot for boating close here to Grand Junction. Let's go ahead and zoom out just a little bit more. So there's the Colorado National Monument. You've seen that in our videos, right in your backyard, basically in Grand Junction, 5 minutes away. Absolutely stunning in the Colorado National Monument. Let's head south a little bit. Let's go down Highway 50, a couple of small towns. There's the Gunnison National Gorge, Black Canyons, which is one of the deepest steep-walled gorges in the United States. Just absolutely stunning landscapes there in the Gunnison National Forest. Just beautiful landscapes out there. Something else you're probably real familiar with and know a little bit about, or have heard about it at least. Keep going down the 50 and you're going to hit Telluride in about 2 hours. Probably my favorite place to go. World-renowned skiing. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. There's the ski area there in Telluride. There's the ski resort. See if we can get a couple of photos of that. That's the town of Telluride. Absolutely stunning, gorgeous landscapes. That's the gondola. They have a free gondola ride. Doesn't cost you a penny. You can take that all the way up to the top, see the town of Telluride below. Super fun time. We do that, try to do that every year if we can. Let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit more. And going south even further, let's see, get some perspective of where we are. So there was Grand Junction, there's Telluride, Silverton. That's actually a stop for the Durango, which is here, Durango Silverton Railroad, going south a little bit more. See if we can pop that up and show you what that looks like. Go zoom in a little bit more, maybe a little bit more. There's the Durango Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad. It's about a 4 or 5 hour trip, and that'll take you to Silverton, and you'll turn around and come back down. Just absolutely stunning little train ride. Take the family, take the kiddos. They'll absolutely love it. So that's Durango, Colorado. And let's go out a little bit more. And then here at the very edge, or what I should call the Four Corners, you've probably heard about that. Let's get rid of that red dot real quick. Go over here, X out of that. So Four Corners, that's where you can put, your arms and legs into 4 states at the same time. That's right there. There's Four Corners. I've actually done that. Now, a little secret, not to bum you out or anything, but they recently did a survey, and they determined that the actual location of Four Corners is off by about a half a mile. So if you go there, go ahead and get your photo, have some fun with it. But I guess from a survey standpoint, when they created that, they were off a little bit. So sorry if that bummed you out. So let's go back, zoom back out. All right, let's go ahead and kind of recap where we were. a little bit more. Okay, so there's the heart, Grand Junction. Let's get rid of that little dot right there. Boom. Okay, there was Grand Junction. We went down to Telluride. Durango's down south, and there was Four Corners right there. Another thing I wanted to point out, kind of close to Durango, this is super cool, and it's called the Mesa Verde, and it's called Cliff Palace. So again, there's Durango, a little bit west of Durango, Mesa Verde. The Pueblans, back in about the year 1100, created this little community and built it right into the cliff. And it's called Cliff Palace. I've actually been there. It's absolutely stunning what they were able to create 1,000 years ago. A community of about 100 or so people used to live there, and that's in Mesa Verde. So if you haven't ever been there, I would certainly recommend taking a trip to Mesa Verde National Park. Okay, let's go ahead and go back out. Little town of Ouray, which was just south of Montrose. So Grand Junction, Montrose, Ouray, before you get to Telluride, is what they call the little Swiss Alps of Colorado, and you can see why. Just absolutely gorgeous, stunning. They have hot springs. Christy and I have been there a couple times, so if you want hot springs, you'll find that in Ouray, Colorado, just before you get to Telluride. All right, let's head east on Interstate 70. Just kind of some smaller towns up and through here. Delta, Hotchkiss, Paonia. Really not a lot to write about. That is Crested Butte, not the other thing that you might want to call it, Crested Butte. You know what, let's go up north since we're kind of heading east. Craig, some smaller towns, northern Colorado. Here's a town that you're probably going to be familiar with, Steamboat Springs. So that's obviously a world-renowned ski area. There's the ski resort right there in Steamboat. But look at these gorgeous landscapes in Steamboat Springs. Just absolutely gorgeous. That's probably the main city or town that you would recognize in the north part of Colorado. Let's zoom back out. That was Steamboat Springs. And let's go down Highway 70 a little bit, and we'll start hitting some ski resorts. Before we do that, so Grand Junction again here for reference, Parachute, small town, Rifle, small town, Glenwood Springs, that's a fun day trip. It's only about an hour and 15 minutes away from Grand Junction east on Interstate 70. They've got the Adventure Park here, pretty fun. It's on top of a hill. You can do a little alpine slide. Look at those views. Look at that swing. Christy and my sister actually did that. They're absolutely nuts. You couldn't pay me to get on that thing. That's Glenwood Spring, the Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park. They actually have the caverns there as well. So you've heard of the Carlsbad Caverns, kind of the same thing there in Glenwood Springs. And then let me show you another fun spot to go in Glenwood Springs, Iron Mountain Hot Springs. Look at that. If you want to get a little refresher, just drive down Interstate 70 for about an hour. You'll hit the Iron Mountain Hot Springs, all these kind of different little pools. It's kind of, what do they call it, scattered throughout. Look at that in the wintertime. Get yourself some hot springs there in Glenwood Springs. Kind of revitalize and rejuvenate. Pretty fun time. Let's zoom back out. You keep going along Interstate 70, smaller towns, Eagle, but look what you come across eventually, about 2 hours away from Grand Junction, you get Vail, Colorado. So there's the Vail Ski Resort, and it's really right off the interstate, and you're going to be in Vail, Colorado. Again, about 2 hours from Grand Junction, absolutely stunning, just picture perfect. Colorful Colorado, that's what they call it. So let's get rid of that, and we'll show you a few more resorts that you're going to be super familiar with. So you've got Vail, you keep going up the interstate. Let's zoom out just a hair, give you some reference points here. All right, so going back, there was Grand Junction. Going east on Interstate 70, you had Vail, you've got Breckenridge right there, and can't forget Aspen, Colorado. So you got Aspen, Vail, Breckenridge. I'm sure you've heard of all of those. Let's go ahead and take a peek into Aspen real quick. That again is only that's the turnoff from Glenwood Springs going south, and you'll hit Aspen, 2 hours away from Grand Junction. So there's the Aspen Mountain, all the ski resorts there in Aspen, and everyone's heard of Aspen. Just absolutely stunning, gorgeous landscapes there in Aspen, Colorado. Just beautiful. All right, let's back out of there and try to give you a point of reference as we zoom out a little bit. Just kind of a recap again. Grand Junction, Telluride was down south. Go east on Interstate 70, you've got Glenwood Springs, where the hot springs and the adventure park are. And then you've got Aspen, a little south of Glenwood, Vail, Breckenridge, and then you start hitting, you go through the Eisenhower Tunnel, through the Continental Divide, and that kind of spits you out there into to Denver. So again, some smaller towns. Fort Collins, it's a big college town. Fort Collins is going to have Colorado State University. I think the median price point in Fort Collins is again over $420,000 in Fort Collins versus our $290 here in Grand Junction. Again, kind of a college town in Fort Collins. I actually had a client reach out from Fort Collins and said, yep, done with the housing costs, done with the crowds. I'm looking to move to the western slope to Grand Junction. So we said, absolutely, we can help out. Let's go zoom into Denver. There's Colorado Springs on the I-25 corridor. So you have Fort Collins, Boulder. That's where Mork and Mindy, for those who remember, that was based out of Boulder, Colorado. Denver, Aurora, Colorado Springs, Pueblo, and then you start heading into New Mexico at that point. Let's go into Denver just real quick. It's a fun weekend trip if you want to get into Denver. Get in, get out, do a weekend trip. You've got the Denver Zoo, and they've got the Botanical Gardens, Nature and Science Center. I've taken my son there. Absolutely loves that little trip. There's the Denver Zoo. Something fun you want to do with the family, go to the Denver Zoo. Little weekend trip. Pretty fun. And then from a sports standpoint, there's Coors Field. That's where the Colorado Rockies play. So a little baseball. You want to go for a weekend trip, do a little baseball game in Denver. Go see the Rockies play. That's there. And then if I can find, let me zoom out a little bit. It shouldn't be too far from Coors Field. I think I can find it. There's Elitch Guard. There we go. There's Empower Field. That's where the Broncos play. If you want to go see a Bronco game, there's Empower Field. It used to be called something else. I can't remember last year, but now it's called Empower Field. And let's zoom back out. And let's see what else. Oh, let's go back. I missed one little spot down south, and it's called Wolf Creek. It averages about 435 inches of snow per year. And for those that need a calculator, that is approximately 35 feet of snow every year. And so it's the most snowfall in the country. There it is, Wolf Creek ski area. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit, show you the ski area, see if they have that mapped out. Probably one more. Let's see. One more? No, it's as far as we can go. But that's the ski area. Again, 35 feet of snow. Most snowfall in North America there in Wolf Creek. That is, for the most part, I mean, if you're a real avid, expert skier, that's where you want to be, in Wolf Creek. Just incredible scenery. Again, colorful Colorado. Just can't beat it. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of that red dot. And maybe, I don't know, maybe a little recap here. Let's go ahead and zoom back out all the way. So, Denver, Colorado Springs, I-25 corridor, Grand Junction there on the western slope, just east of the Utah border. Some sights to see there in Utah, not too far away. Got Telluride down south, Durango, Four Corners, Pagosa Springs, Wolf Creek's right in here. Not a lot to speak about on the east side, even east of Denver. Just kind of some smaller towns. Lyman, I've never even heard of that. Wild Horse, Flagler, Siebert, Yuma, Otis. Haven't really heard of a lot of those towns, but in a nutshell, that is the state of Colorado. All right, that's going to about wrap it up. Hopefully you had some fun with that and you found some of that information super valuable. If you did, if you wouldn't mind tapping that like button, give me a thumbs up. And if you're brand new to this channel and you want to continue to see these videos, we do them about every week or so. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, tap that bell, that way you're notified every time we post a new video. And again, if you're thinking about moving here to Grand Junction, make sure that you reach out. Give us a phone call, text message, email, even send that carrier pigeon. Whatever you need to do, we've got your back when moving to Grand Junction. Until the next video, we'll catch you later.